It's ready. Okay. Well, it's Colin here, bloody again here. I'm finishing off at the moment, or at least haven't quite finished. At least on this money situation. It's the time just after 2:00. Not requiring money to do anything. The money problem is, what shall I say? It restricts considerably everything. You want to go overseas to see your daughter or something like that, and you can't do it. You haven't got the money, and people can steal your money, and so on. And it's of course we've seen about cyber attacks. That'll be finished because they just do it for money, gambling, try to get more money, and they don't need to gamble because you can just pick up what you want. You should be rather like Bill Gates or something like that. You can just help yourself to what you want, as long as it's generally, generally available. If you had things that were, priceless, like paintings and things like that, or different things like that, but if just common things like or anything you can think of, common in the supermarket, that's easy, but you can pick them up, and that'll provide employment, because the more employment, the better. So therefore, then at the present time, you've got your money system here, and we're all in trouble with it. House prices have gone up to over $1 million at the moment, and people are struggling to get a home. But if you didn't have money problems, you wouldn't have all these problems. And but you have to have, as I say, you have to have a knowledge that you have to be able to give information that you are working your 8 hours, because we can't have people helping themselves who are not working. It's for those who are working, and then you can help yourself generally to what you want. So we're just briefly looking at how it works. Just briefly again, I didn't get it much myself actually. So the author of all romance, as I've mentioned before, the Holy Spirit, he's into everything, and he revealed unto me about this. This is why I'm able to probably do my videos. He's probably working with me, because he wants to heal the rift between the Christians and the world too as well. So much trouble in New Zealand. There's these sex problems, and then you get child molesting as a result of that, because they're struggling with their sex problems. You can't go in the nude because you go out to your letterbox naked and the police grab you, and you can't suppress yourself and properly, and it's no good. It just creates nervousness, creates indirect suicides, and so on. So, but getting back to so he's revealed unto me these things, the Holy Spirit, and what he just basically gave me an outline that as I mentioned, that you basically how it works is that you do an 8-hour job that's been approved by the government, or jobs to make it up to the 8 hours, and then you can help yourself. So as I mentioned to you, that you can go, say, on a trip, you want to go on holiday, so the taxi driver, he's doing his 8 hours, he takes you to the airport, the plane people are doing their 8 hours, the taxi driver, when you get to your destination, he's doing his 8 hours, and the motel people who you arrange beforehand, see if they've got a vacancy, and if they have, then they book you a vacancy in, so when you arrive you go straight to the motel, and it's already there for you, and there's no charge, because they're doing their 8 hours, everybody's doing their 8 hours, and so that's basically how it works. But there's these ins and outs of the problem that we've been looking at, of cigarettes and such like, So I don't think I covered properly about the problem of sweet things. We'll have to look into that because if you could help yourself, okay, you work your 8 hours, so you go into a supermarket, and you can equivalent to shoplift in a sense, because you doing your 8 hours, but as long as you let the computer know, like the one I was saying about, I think in my video, that about over 4 years ago, I had a flatmate who who looked down at his computer thing, and the computer thing looked up at his eyes and saw by his eyes that he was the person that was a connection with it. Well, it wasn't somebody else. The computer knew by his eyes, by looking into his eyes. So it's amazing technology. And so that could happen too. You go into a supermarket and the computer thing looks up at your eyes and check that has all the files of everybody that's working, and they can tell billions of transactions every second. And so your one is just one of the billions that they can see straight away by your eyes whether you're the one that's working your 8 hours. And so you can help yourself to what you want. But when it comes to sweet things, is a problem. You see, if you got too many sweet things, then you eat your sweet things, and then you got no room for your proteins and vegetables and that, and you're full of sugar. So I remember once I was doing a job for a lady, and in Auckland years ago, and what happened was she gave me some sweet things for afternoon tea. So I chose the sweet ones actually, and over and above the others. But when I went for tea time where I was staying, I was sort of full. I didn't need much tea. I remember Mum saying to me one time, she said, I was going to have an apple before tea. I was hungry, and Mum said to me, she said, "You won't eat your tea because an apple can fill you up, and like normally an apple's good, but if you get a decent apple." And but just sort of getting back to sweet things, you see, if we would eat too many sweet things. See, I know a guy too. I was staying at a particular place, and this guy was very hyperactive, and he was slamming doors all the time, and I noticed that when the ice cream came and that, he pushed aside his vegetables and that, and went straight and ate the ice cream. And it could have been he's hyperactive because he had too much sugar in his system. And of course, you can put on weight too, as we know, too. Sweet things, and your weight goes on. And biscuits are things that somebody was telling me that you can put weight on, sweet things, and so that's one thing that have to be addressed. Perhaps we could just have a limited amount of sweet things per person, say 2 candy bars per person or something like that. Otherwise, when you get sweet things, well, then you get yourself filled up with sweet things, and you don't have your tea, and you don't want your tea. And be careful too much sugar, because it's well known, of course, about the problems of sugar. So that's the thing that'll have to be addressed. And so, but I don't know myself how to do it properly, because I just got an outline of it by the Holy Spirit, gave me the outline of it, which was briefly that we just do our 8 hours. But when we get into things like cigarettes and dope and different things, that need to be addressed. Now, so that's sweet things is one that we've got to watch for. Now, we've covered the situation with cyber attacks. We see that a benefit of no money, we won't have cyber attack problem. We won't have gambling problem, people losing their money, and we won't have a problem of or other what should I say, things about money, holding a person ransom for money, prostitutes charging for money, and you could maybe have a certain amount of prostitutes, perhaps, and then a guy, when he's sexually frustrated, just go to a prostitute, and there's no charge, there's no money involved. And these bloody women, they used to charge an enormous amount to be as a prostitute. I believe it used to be £50 to go and see a prostitute, say back in the 50s or 60s, before decimal currency came in, and that was about 4 weeks take-home pay, £50, because wages in those days used to be £14.10 a week, so that's £14 and a half a pound, £14.50. Now, take-home pay was about £12 after tax, or £12, £12.50. So say take it at £12, 4 weeks, that's 4 12s or 48, £12.50 would bring it up to the 50. So that was the amount you paid a prostitute, £50 to see a prostitute in those days. So that'd be the equivalent today of being about 2,400 smackers to see a prostitute today is the equivalent, roughly about £50, because £50 we see as 4 weeks take-home pay. 4 weeks take-home pay today is about 600 a week, so that's 4 6s are 24. What's that? 2,400 smackers to see a prostitute. But fortunately, with decimal currency, things look higher, so it's come down considerably. In fact, it's only about the equivalent, probably I suppose about $50, which is much less than would be 2,400 smackers. So prostitutes then is one that could be seen. We shouldn't have prostitutes, actually. You should be able to have sex naturally without having to pay for it. Women have manipulated the situation, but then under the circumstances, if a person is sexually frustrated, a guy, it would pay to him to go to a prostitute. But now that if you don't have money problem, that's her job. She's a prostitute. She's recognised by the government, and so therefore you can go and fuck her and for no charge, and that would be a big help with sexually frustrated guys. Save their frustration and save them going to children, because the reason of going to children is because it's so difficult to deal with women. If they know you, it can make a difference. But it's very difficult to get women, actually. I know, and guys are having trouble, and once they know you, it's different. Like, as I've mentioned before, in Courtenay Place here in Wellington, been watching things because I do busking. The reason I do busking is to support a work in Africa, actually. I'm actually fundraising. I usually busk in the evenings, and I watch what's going on, and sometimes these guys will come up behind women, and the women don't see them, but then when they turn around and find it's guys they know, then it's not a problem. But if it's not guys they don't know, or they can be very rude to guys they don't know sometimes, especially if they're immature, I suppose. So therefore it's very difficult for guys to get it. You can, if you keep trying, of course, but today, of course, you've got more online sort of things and that, but it's still difficult because they don't know you, and sometimes it's difficult meeting guys who they don't know. And the best way is for a girl to know you first before you date her or anything. But sometimes they can date you. Depends on the woman. Some are more forward than others, and so on. So therefore, prostitution is a thing that sort of shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to pay for sex, really. But under the circumstances, if a guy's sexually frustrated, it would pay to go to him. But if he can get there for free, then he can go to her, and then there's no charge, and that's her job, and so on. So that's an interesting one too, and that would help guys a lot. And because guys are so turned on in the street, all these tit shows and things, they know what they're doing. They don't have to. I don't have to explain it. Well, they know what they're doing. I don't want to go too much into this, into that side of it on this video. We're trying to sort of sort out about this. We don't need money to run a country, and it really is going to work very well, because. But the money that you've got in the bank, say, I think I've covered that too, but the money in the bank cannot be, as it were, wasted, because you could say, well, look, now that we're not operating money anymore, what about all the money I've got in the bank? I would work to get that, and so on. So what they could do about that, then they could just say, well, we'll give you $20 an hour for each $20 you've got in the bank. So you can work for nothing. You can that can be counted as 1 hour's work for every $20. So if you've got, say, $85,000 in the bank, say, well, then you could get a lot of free stuff. You don't have to work for a while if you don't want to. You go out playing golf or something like that, or go travelling around, and you could use your money up in travelling around and going overseas too, something like that. But here's going to be a problem though. If you're going to go overseas, they'll have to operate money too. That's another thing. If you're going to go overseas, they still operate money, because this could only be New Zealand that's operating this. So New Zealand's going to have to come first in everything, and all these things. What's going on with me in relation to my videos is all sort of going to start off with New Zealand. So New Zealand, fortunately or unfortunately, has to lead the world. It's going to be a big undertaking for poor little New Zealand to lead the world, but it's going to have to be that way, because I've been called. Therefore, I need New Zealand to help me. I can't even take the Westpac Stadium here in Wellington here on my own, let alone the rest of the stadiums in New Zealand. And then how are you going to get the people to come? How are they going to know about it? It's just me, I and myself. I need a lot of help to get this stadiums off the ground. The things that needs to be done for New Zealand, as I pointed out in my videos. You keep an eye on this time, incidentally, too. We're looking at, it's only about 18 minutes at the moment, so it's not so bad. Now, so therefore then, it's a matter of getting this far. So we can start off with New Zealand operating on a cashless society, and then once the rest of the world can see how New Zealand is doing so well, they could adopt it. Otherwise, otherwise we'll still need money to operate overseas, to get money. But money, you see, is a big tie-up. See, you can only got a certain amount of things you can get because you haven't got money. But when you haven't got money, then you can't get anything the same, you know. You can get your basic things, though, quite well, because if you've got a job or if you get benefit from the government, you can get your vegetables and your food and that from supermarkets with the money that you've got, and then you can pay your rent, and then the welfare can, if you haven't got a job, the welfare can help you with extra money, so you can get sort of the basic needs with money. But then it's not very good because if you get your money stolen and things like that, then you're in trouble in that. And so it's not as good as being able to just be free to hop on taxi and go where you like. You could go as far as Wellington to Auckland in a taxi, and it's all for free. Though that'd be a long way to go for a taxi driver to just take one person. It wouldn't be economical to do that, because you need to get the train or something like that to make it more economical, or bus. Not expecting a taxi driver to take you all the way from Wellington to Auckland. It's not economical. So so that's the idea. Then is to work your 8 hours, and on a job or a job, 2 jobs or 3 jobs to make up the 8 hours, and then you basically can help yourself to what you want in general. And as I say, they'll create employment, and it can create employment, especially for hotels and cafes where you eat a proper meal, not so much the takeaways. Or even then, they can have sometimes a good meal in a container too. But the ones that I've come across, they seem to be uncooked. You have broccoli, say, and it's uncooked broccoli, or cauliflower, and it's uncooked. Whereas if you go to, like I went to a very good hotel in Wellington here, somebody put me onto it. It was Murphy's, actually. They're still operating Murphy's Hotel in Cuba Mall in Wellington. And someone gave me a meal there, and it was a beautiful meal. It was more liver than what you'd expect, twice as much liver what you'd expect, and it was not quite nicely digestible. That liver was, they had very good chefs there apparently in Murphy's Hotel, so I'd recommend, incidentally, to go there if you're looking for a hot meal. It was 20 smackers for it, but see, that's where you get a lovely free meal there for free, because that's their job. So at Murphy's Hotel, they take people in and for accommodation, and they give meals, and it's all for free because they're doing their 8 hours, which is making meals for people and accommodating people, and then you go in and you get your free meal if you're working your 8 hours. And then so that'll need work for kitchen hands, which is a very good job because you don't need any much in the way of what shall I say, experience to do a little job like that. So these ones in the street in Wellington, I do busking, but as I say, I'm busking to help people overseas. I'm fundraising. But generally speaking, you get these buskers in the street and these beggars, they're begging for money all the time. But I don't know why they're not looking for jobs. But they want benefits, and they seem to me they blow their benefits on the pokies and dope, and then they got no money, so they beg for money in the street on cardboard cartons and cardboard, brown cardboard and that. So those kind of people could easily get a job in town in Wellington here as a kitchen hand, and there's no experience required. And then because they are working their 8 hours, then they can also help themselves to what they want as well, without so they wouldn't need to beg. In fact, there won't be any money anyway around to beg anyway. So they can get jobs, because there's so many jobs, there's so much work around. And as I say, there would be jobs that you don't need, what should I say, make any experience, just washing dishes and putting, being a waiter and cleaning tables and wiping tables, and that it shouldn't require much experience to do that. They might just show you how to do it, certain things, what to do, but it shouldn't require too much trouble. And then if you got a kitchen hand job, then you're working your 8 hours and you can get a taxi, or you can just get what you want in general. around and that. So it's a much better way of doing it. And I know it can work because it was revealed unto me, as I say, by the Holy Spirit and not from myself. If it was just for myself, it could have been or it could not have been. But if the Holy Spirit gives you something, then it's for real, and it's not my idea. I think I got something else too. It was too. So if He reveals something to you, then it must be going to work. So that's the idea. Then is basically to get an 8-hour job, which would be plenty of work around. But as I said, so I was reading in the paper of an article that said that there's downturns of full employment. But one of the downturns was printing money. But that's very important. As I put on my videos, you don't have to loan money overseas. You can do it yourself. As I pointed out about my high-rise, water tanks for farmers, about 600, 800 feet into the sky, all done with either counterfeit money or whatever money. Counterfeit money can just do it just the same. Counterfeit money is the same as ordinary money. It's no difference. You build it, you pay the contractors pay the wages for the men if you're working on money, and you build your big 600, 800 feet into the sky, and as I say, you've got your corrugated iron sloping down to the reservoirs, and as the rain hits the corrugated iron, it pours into the reservoirs. There's a churning motion to keep the water fresh and to stop mildew, moss, and mosquitoes from breeding. And then you have these jet-like propellers, like in the 50s. You just probably had sprinklers, that just baby ones that just did a vegetable garden. But now they've got sprinklers out that shoot the water out like jets, and so you can maybe do half an acre or a whole acre at one time. And so that's just one job that can be done. So with money too. Well, how did I get onto that one about money? There's something I had in mind that I brought up that one again. Because that's right. You can do it with money. You can do much better in a country with money if you allowed money to be printed more. They're printing money anyway, but this way is better without money, and so you can just help yourself generally to what you want. But as I say too, as I put on the videos, the cigarettes have got to be addressed, but as I said to one of my videos, all people need to do to give up cigarettes is just to put Epsom salts into their mouth for 3 days, and it can take away the desire to smoke. Now, although I've said this before, this sort of thing, it's actually good to repeat these things because it embeds deeply on something when you see it a second time. Like, for example, I came across an article where I put on a video about this rape thing in the 1700s being just a rudeness. Now, I'd actually read the article because I'd put it aside. I probably read it, but I'd completely forgotten about it entirely, about that article, and I came across it years later, and now it's embedded deep into me and the second time round, it's embedded deep now. I won't forget that now about that rape thing being a rudeness in the 1700s. And people can be programmed to believe anything, and unfortunately, they can believe anything, they'll believe it. As I said, like the Muslims, some of these extremists, they won't go to battle with a woman on the other side, because if they get shot by a woman, then they won't go to heaven, they claim. So 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 people can believe anything too, incidentally. So, but when you recap on things, it kind of bends it deeper. So, although I've sort of covered again a few things that I've other videos, still I think it's very good because it embeds it deeper and gets things done, because you think, yes, by golly, I remember him saying that, yes, and it can create something to do something about it more. So basically then that's the idea with this money system then, is that you don't need money, and what money you've got in the bank can be covered with work. So if you've got, say, $85,000 in the bank, you can work it out at $20 an hour, say, and you can get all those hours up to 85,000 for free. So therefore you can go into a shop and you could not be working, but you've got this money in the bank to show the computer thing. You can look up at your eyes and look up and see that you look up at your bank balance or whatever, and see that you've got that much in the bank, and therefore you can get those groceries for free without working, because you can take it off your money system until you use up all your 85,000. But then on the other hand, though, you could need that money to go overseas, because it might only be New Zealand, you see, that has what works like this without money. People have to see the way New Zealand do it, and then when they're convinced how it works, then they can jump on it too, and the bandwagon. But it's going to take time, because not every country is going to do it straight away. Maybe Australia might see, because they're close to New Zealand, and they'll see, oh, New Zealand's working well, no money, well, let's jump on the bandwagon, and they do it, and then maybe another country could do it, and so it might take time to get around the world. So unfortunately, poor little New Zealand is going to have to save the world, and not only in this, but with this virus thing. See, I'm trying to get this virus knocked out. I could see that there's Dr. Carmen in Wellington here. She's very good on this sort of thing, but she's booked up now to the end of February, and I've got to send an email. I went to her secretary, and about making an appointment and that, and trying to get this thing sorted out about knocking out this virus by orthomolecule medicine, because Dr. Lorna is more not Dr. Lorna, Dr. I mentioned her name. Anyway, she's Dr. Carmen. Yeah, she's very good on this, but it's going to be at least to the end of February before we're now late November 21. So see, if we can get this virus knocked out by orthomolecule medicine, which it can do, then you see, then New Zealand can lead the world, and so on. So unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, New Zealand has basically been called to save the world, not only in this but in other things as well. And this can be another one about money. So we'd have to get it right in New Zealand first, and then so Australia could be the first one to jump on the bandwagon and see how it's working well for New Zealand, and then they climb on the bandwagon, and then it might take time before the rest of the world comes into it. They might be wanting to have a look at it and so on. So New Zealand's the one that, unfortunately or unfortunately, is going to be required to get this world right, as I've mentioned on my other videos. I keep an eye on this time now. It's 30. Oh goodness, it's 34 minutes. Oh, so I'll have to close now. Well, anyway, yes, because my friend can't find it. If it gets too long, it might have another 2 or 3 minutes left. So basically, then that's the idea. Without money, you can work better. You can get what you want much more easily. You can travel around. You could travel over the world. But as I say, if it's just in New Zealand, then you see you're still going to need money overseas. It's not till the whole world comes into it that you can work it well. And and there's so much else to say. I'd like you to sort of keep up with my videos, and because there's a lot needs to be done for New Zealand, and I'm struggling to get things working. Trying to wipe out. Oh, it's just about prostitution. Another thing too is that if you do working it right, you don't have to bother about condoms for, like, in relation to what do they call them? Sexual diseases. What do they call them? Gonorrhea and syphilis and other sexual diseases. You don't have to worry because of orthomolecular medicine. If you get syphilis, they can be knocked out in one day by orthomolecular medicine, as I'll put in my other videos. So that would make it better. But then, of course, there's the baby question, though. That can be a problem too. Of course, a prostitute could be on the pill and so on. But if you could have a fuck with a prostitute without the bloody condom, because I used a condom once, and a prostitute, somebody paid for me a cheap one, so-called cheap one, and I didn't get much time because she ran out of time with the other ones, and I still hadn't come, and I'd finished, and I got very little time because she was tied up with the other one, with the other people, and my time was used with them, and all I got was just a few minutes. I didn't even come, and my time was up, so it's no good. But if she does come, so better for guys if they could get a proper fuck without a condom. Well, anyway, I must close now. My time's up here. So, yes, my time's up. So I'll put on another video about something else. So in the meantime, look at my other videos again and get your friends to see them, because we need to get this message across, what I'm getting across in my videos, not only for New Zealand, of course, but for the world. Well, I must close in, so get your friends to listen to my videos and look back on my videos, and we'll see if we can get this world knocked into shape. Well, it's Colin there, and then signing off, so I'll sign off for now. Bye for now.